So you're building a company, right? Got that big idea, the passion, the hustle. But where do you even begin? Well, today's deep dive, it's all about this fascinating book. It's called Formula G, Scale Your Startup to a Growth Machine. And let me tell you, they've got some surprising answers. Turns out, it's not all about fancy algorithms or viral marketing campaigns. This book says the real secret sauce, the element that can make or break your success, is people. Formula G dedicates an entire chapter to this. It's called People Power, and they even tease a billionaire's secret formula for building that ultimate team. Intrigued. Me too. So how? Let's dive right into this people power thing. I mean, it sounds pretty self-explanatory, but what are we really talking about here? The book kicks things off with this killer quote. It's from the founder of Panasonic. He said, "Business is people." Agree. Short. Sweet. And kind of mind-blowing when you really think about it, right?
Absolutely. It's easy to get caught up in the tangible aspects of business.
That's right.
Like, what's the next killer product?
Yeah.
But ultimately, every company's success, it boils down to the humans behind it.
Right. And the book makes this point about how easy it is to copy a product these days. Technology can be reverse engineered, designs can be imitated, but you can't just replicate a truly talented, passionate person.
Exactly. Think about the people you've worked with, the ones who've made a real impact. What made them so special? Their dedication, their creative spark, their ability to inspire those around them. These qualities, you can't mass produce them. They're what make a company truly unique.
And that's why, according to Formula G, building a strong core team, it's absolutely essential, especially when you're starting out. We're not talking about just any team, though. This core team, it's like your inner circle, the folks who are truly invested in your company's success. But how do you even begin to build this A-team? Well, Formula G dives into a concept you might have heard of, the 80-20 rule. They actually tell this hilarious anecdote about a student. He seems to procrastinate on everything, leaving everything to the last minute. But somehow they always manage to pull it off. Ever known someone like that?
Right. And that anecdote, it perfectly illustrates the power of focus. Focusing on what truly matters, those vital few things that make the biggest impact.
Okay, so tell us more about this 80-20 rule. How does it actually work?
It's also known as the Pareto Principle. And it essentially states that roughly 80% of results come from just 20% of the inputs. Formula G argues that this principle applies to so many areas of business, especially when it comes to building that killer team.
Okay, so instead of spreading yourself thin, trying to manage a huge team, the key is to identify that vital few, that 20% of your people, who consistently deliver 80% of the results. But wouldn't that lead to a lot of people getting left behind?
Not necessarily. It's not about neglecting the other 80%. It's about recognizing that within any group, some contributions, they'll naturally have a bigger impact. Formula G emphasizes understanding this principle and applying it strategically to your team. That means identifying your top performers and finding ways to empower them even further.
We're talking about giving your A-team even more responsibility, more autonomy, more opportunities to shine.
Exactly. Because when you invest in your top performers, when you give them the resources and the support they need to excel, their success becomes your company's success.
This is where things get really interesting, because Formula G dives into a real-world example of people power in action. The Tata Group. Now, for those who don't know, the Tata Group is a massive multinational conglomerate based in India. We're talking huge GE. And unlike many companies that had to make tough decisions during challenging times, Tata took a different approach.
What's fascinating about the Tata Group is that instead of laying off employees when things got tough, they actually doubled down on taking care of their people. They put their money where their mouth is, so to speak.
Right.
The book quotes Ratan Tata. He was their former chairman, and he said something like this: "Treat your employees with respect and loyalty, especially during difficult times."
Powerful stuff.
It speaks volumes about their corporate culture and their commitment to people power. They understand that when you invest in your people, when you create a supportive and respectful environment, they become your most valuable asset, your competitive advantage. They actually believe it. And it seems to be working.
Okay, so we've got this core team concept, the 80-20 rule, and this amazing example from the Tata Group. What I'm gathering here is that Formula G is saying that building a successful company isn't just about the product, the technology, or even the brilliant marketing. It starts with the people.
It absolutely does. Formula G argues that your company is only as strong as the people who power it.
So how do we actually find these superstars, these vital few, who are going to make up our core team? Because let's face it, not every hire is going to be a home run.
You're right. It's not always easy. But Formula G suggests looking beyond just skills and experience on a resume They highlight some key qualities to look for in core team members. Things like business acumen, obviously, but also team spirit, genuine motivation, and maybe most importantly, alignment with the company's values.
So we're talking about people who not only have the skills to pay the bills, but also fit in with the company culture
Yeah.
and genuinely believe in what the company's doing.
Exactly. And finding those people, those individuals who are both talented and aligned with your mission. That's how you build a team that's greater than the sum of its parts.
This is making me think about the Tata Group again. They didn't just stumble upon a workforce that shared their values, right?
Right. Formula G actually delves into the specific actions Tata took. For example, during those tough times, they didn't just hand out pink slips. They offered voluntary retirement schemes, upskilling programs, and even created opportunities for employees to move into different roles within the organization.
Wow. So they were proactive about finding ways to support their people, even when it meant getting creative. What was the outcome of all this?
Well, according to Formula G, Tata not only weathered the storm, but they emerged even stronger. Their employee morale remained high, and they were well-positioned to capitalize on new opportunities. When the market rebounded, they call it proof that putting your people first isn't just the right thing to do, it's also good business.
It's like that old saying, take care of your employees and they'll take care of your business. But Tata really took it to a whole new level.
Absolutely. And keep in mind, Tata is a massive company. But Formula G argues that these principles apply, whether you're a multinational corporation or a scrappy startup.
Speaking of startups, let's go back to that 80-20 rule for a second. It's a powerful concept when applied to team building, but Formula G suggests we can use it in other areas of our business as well.
Right, absolutely. Remember that anecdote about the procrastinating student? It's not just about focusing on the vital few people. It's about identifying those key areas where even small changes can have a big impact.
So give us an example. How could someone apply this 80-20 rule to, say, their daily to-do list? I know I could use some help in that department.
Think about it this way. How much of your day is spent on tasks that truly move the needle versus tasks that, well, maybe they're necessary, but they don't have a significant impact on your overall goals?
Ouch, I can already feel myself starting to sweat. I'm definitely guilty of that. Spending way too much time on those less important tasks.
It happens to the best of us.
Mm-hmm.
But Formula G encourages us to take a step back, analyze our workflow, identify those 20% of tasks that generate the most significant results. Those are your high-impact activities, and ruthlessly prioritize them.
It's about being intentional with our time and energy, right? Making sure we're not just busy, but productive.
Exactly. That's what Formula G calls ruthless prioritization. It might feel counterintuitive at first, but by focusing on those high-impact tasks, you can often achieve more in less time, freeing up your energy for the things that truly matter.
So it's not about working longer hours. It's about working smarter.
Precisely. And this principle can be applied to other areas of your business as well, like problem solving. Instead of just reacting to every issue that pops up, Formula G suggests that we use the 80-20 rule to identify the root causes of those problems.
So instead of just putting out fires all the time, we're taking a step back to figure out what's causing those fires in the first place. Makes sense.
Exactly. Often, you'll find that a small number of underlying issues are responsible for a majority of the problems you face. By identifying and addressing those root causes, you can prevent similar problems from popping up again and again.
It's about working smarter, not harder, right?
Huh?
Which seems to be a recurring theme in Formula G.
Absolutely. And it all circles back to that concept of people power. When you have a strong core team in place, a team that's empowered and equipped to tackle those high-impact tasks and address those root causes, that's when you unlock exponential growth.
It's about creating a system where your people, your most valuable asset, can thrive.
Exactly. And speaking of systems and strategies for success, Formula G delves into another fascinating example, this time from the world of investing. And the name at the center of it all might surprise you.
Investing. Now that's a curveball. I'm hooked. Tell me more.
We're talking about none other than Warren Buffett. He's not exactly running a small business, but Formula G points out that his investment strategies actually illustrate the power of focus and strategic allocation perfectly. They highlight his famous 90-10 rule, which he uses for long-term retirement savings.
Warren Buffett, the oracle of Omaha himself. Okay, I'm really curious now. What's this 90-10 rule all about?
In a nutshell, Buffett suggests putting 90% of your investment capital into low-cost, diversified index funds.
Index funds, got it. It's like spreading your bets across the entire market, right?
Exactly. It's about gaining broad exposure to the market's growth potential. without trying to pick individual winners or losers. Then, according to Buffett, the remaining 10% should be allocated to lower risk investments.
So he's advocating for a balanced approach, but with a heavy emphasis on long-term growth.
Right. And what's fascinating is how much Buffett's 90-10 rule aligns with the principles we've been discussing for Formula G. Even though he's talking about investing, he's essentially saying, identify the areas with the highest potential for long-term growth, your 90%, and then make smaller, more strategic bets to diversify and manage risk. Your 10%.
So it's still about intentional focus and strategic allocation of resources, just like building a core team or tackling those high-impact tasks.
Exactly. It's all connected. Whether you're building a company, managing your time, or investing your money. Formula G argues that the underlying principle for success remains the same. Identify what truly matters, and then go all in.
It's about finding those leverage points, those key areas where even small changes can lead to big results. It's about working smarter, not harder.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
So to wrap things up, it seems like this entire deep dive into people power and Formula G can be boiled down to this. Success isn't just about hard work. It's about working smart.
Absolutely. And a big part of that is recognizing that you don't have to do everything yourself. It's about building a strong team, empowering your people, and creating a system where everyone can thrive.
It's about finding your own version of people power and using it to drive your success.
Exactly. And with that in mind, I want to leave you with this final thought from Formula G. We've talked a lot about identifying those vital few within a company. But who are the vital few in your work or life? The people who inspire you, challenge you, and push you to be your best. How can you empower them to achieve even greater things?
That's something I'm definitely going to be thinking about. This has been an amazing deep dive. Thanks for breaking it all down for me.